Good evening. It's been a while since I've been in front of you talking about the 12 commandments that I received back in the 90s through a transmission after I attended the Anne Frank house. And for some of you who are not familiar with the Anne Frank house, it's a townhouse that a young girl, 13 years of age, lived in with her family in very cramped small quarters during the Second World War, or what has been known as the Holocaust, as she was hiding from persecution from the Nazis. So after I attended the Anne Frank house, immediately thereafter, I received transmissions of information that came through in the form of automatic writing, piles and piles of information, musical compositions, all transmitting messages about life and everything pertaining to our existence here on earth. One of those transmissions, if you recall from my last talk, was something called the 12 Commandments. I discussed one of those 12 commandments the last time, and just as a review, I'll just briefly go over what those 12 commandments are, and then focus on the second of those 12. In my last video, I discussed the first one, and the first one is speak the truth. The second one is seek the truth. The third one is to feel your pain and let it go. The fourth one is to acknowledge your pain. Let me just go over each of these a little bit. So essentially, the highest and most important thing that we as a human being can do is to spend our energies looking for what the truth is. Universally, in our lives, globally, we are commanded to seek that truth, to know what it is. Because how can we live our lives righteously and in fulfillment if we don't know what the truths are? The second commandment is to seek the truth. First one, was to speak the truth. In other words, to ensure that what comes through our lips is righteous and true and accurate. In effect, it has been said that those who believe in a higher power, a higher being, in God, that God is love. Love is truth. Truth is God. When we are in the vibration of truth, we in fact are vibrating at a level that the higher planes are vibrating at the level of the God frequency, which then aligns us with that frequency, connects us with that frequency, and elevates us. When we are in a higher elevated frequency, we resonate with joy and buoyancy and love and all good things. So the first one is to speak the truth. We are commanded to speak the truth. The second one is to seek it. to know, to spend our energies, our time, whether in inner contemplation or outward seeking, to find what the truths are that apply to us individually, that apply to ourselves in connection with others, that apply to ourselves globally. And once again, the most important commandment is to seek and to speak truth, thereby ensuring that our energies vibrate at the highest plane possible, enabling us to feel a sense of fulfillment and joy and enlightenment. The third one is to feel your pain and let it go. That's a very all-encompassing commandment. When we deny our pain in various forms, in various degrees, when we suppress it, we become a walking time bomb that ultimately explodes in ways that are hurtful to ourselves or to others. Violence on earth is caused by the suppression of pain, which turns to anger, then to rage, then becomes violence. The next commandment is to acknowledge your needs. That is part of seeking the truth. What is the truth about what your individual needs are? It's vital that you connect with what those truths of your needs, and that you then follow a course to fulfill those needs. The next one is to acknowledge your needs. After that, it talks about holding each man in your embrace and looking into his eyes. It is very difficult to feel anger, negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative emotions, negative energies, when you hold someone in your embrace and they in turn hold you, and each looks into the eyes of the other. The next one is to speak to empower. May the words of your lips, coming through your lips, express positive invocations. When you speak to empower, energetically, you're elevating not only yourself, but you're elevating the person that you're speaking to and about. You're increasing their worth, their value. You're increasing your own worth and value, and the loving connectedness feelings that you receive from that cannot be matched. The next commandment is to be vulnerable. For how can you receive information? How can you receive elevation? How can you receive insight? How can you receive revelation? How can you be the receiver of anything if you're shut down and numb, or an ego, which is simply another way of being shut down? When you are vulnerable, you are open to receiving the guidance of the universe, open to receiving the guidance of your soul and every goodness that is available to you. The next commandment is to be humble. Very, very important. When we are in humility, when we think, feel, experience, express ourselves in humility, that is another form of vulnerability, and it's another form of opening one's heart and soul to receiving the goodnesses and bounties of the earth and all the unseen planes. The next commandment is to judge no man. How many times have we had experiences and difficulties, and we've easily chosen to judge another? Unless we walk in their shoes and feel their pain, experienced their lives and their ups and downs, we cannot judge another. Furthermore, we have absolutely no idea in the greater scheme of the universe why someone is behaving at a particular moment in a certain way, what the meaning and the context of that is from a spiritual perspective. And in any case, judgment is another form of a negative energy. What we put out into the universe is what we receive. When we judge, we are in fact expressing negative energy. And the law of attraction demands that what we put out, that negative energy, is what we in turn receive. The next commandment is to waste not. In effect, to be in appreciation for everything: food, clothing, anything that we are blessed to receive, however small we imagine it to be, because in so doing, we are actually in a state of deep appreciation. And again, the energy of appreciation vibrates at a very high frequency. It's very positive. And when we are in that state of appreciation and high frequency energy, we attract the same. And therefore, when we waste, we actually lower our energetic frequency. We are, in effect, discarding gifts, though they be or appear to be minute or small. The next commandment is to cherish the body that entrusts the soul. We were given this body, and as the wording says, it entrusts the soul. It is the vehicle for the soul's purpose, for its mobility. So it's very important that we treat this body with love and care and that we provided good things, loving things, good food, healthy food, being conscious of how we treat the citadel of our souls. Purpose. The last one, the last commandment is to pray. When we put prayer out into the universe, it's been shown to impact things even at the molecular level. So what is prayer? Again, it's a form of energy that we put out into the universe. And generally speaking, prayerful thoughts or thoughts of goodness and love, or requests of goodness and love. And so prayer enables us to express further positive energies. And once again, based on the law of attraction, positive attracts positive. So the last commandment is to pray. Now, these are just overviews of what each of the 12 commandments are. The last time I spoke about the first, second, and third. And tonight I'm going to speak in slightly more depth about the fourth and the fifth. Acknowledge your needs. Are you in pain? Do you feel uncomfortable about anything, anyone, what someone has done, where you're working, where you are in a relationship, where you are in your own self-worth and goals? It's very important to acknowledge those needs first, to find out what your needs are. What is it that is important to you to enable you not just to survive, but to thrive and to be a being that is filled with joy and energy and creativity? What is it in your life? What needs do you have that are causing things not to work or work as well as they could? So acknowledging your needs, knowing what those needs are, is very important, and something that we ought not to shy away from, be afraid of, but rather to allow ourselves to define ourselves by what our needs are and setting our boundaries and taking those steps and those actions to fulfill the needs of our emotions, of our spiritual content, of our physical being, of our creative focus, every possible way that we need to fulfill our needs. The next commandment talks about holding each man in your embrace and looking into his eyes. The human touch is very powerful. When we touch someone physically, when we hold them next to our hearts, when we hold them in an embrace and they in turn hold us, we transmit wholehearted, good, loving energies. We receive those same energies, and we in turn give those energies. What magnifies this is when we look deeply into someone's eyes while holding them. They say the eyes are the mirrors of the soul, or the windows of the soul. And when we connect through that eye contact, a very deep and gratifying connection is made that satisfies us at the deepest level. And so, hold each man in your embrace and look into his eyes. I'm going to sign off for tonight and hope to have more of these YouTube videos and go into the rest of the 12 commandments and ultimately go into that vast body of transmissions that came through after I visited the Anne Frank house. And so with much love and many blessings, I say good night.